Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology and the energy for the upcoming full moon that's occurring July 13th or 14th, depending on where you live within the world. Before we get into that reading, I just want to mention that this is, of course, a general forecast, a general reading. If you would like a personalized reading, which will be a much deeper dive into your own personal numerology, please book some time with me. I would love to work with you. My information is in the description box below. Please like, comment, and share. I absolutely appreciate and love hearing from you all. Your support has been so kind, so loving, so appreciated. And it helps to really bring even more awareness to numerology, and it helps to grow my little channel. And I just absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. I see you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, so we are, of course, going to look at both the collective numerology and energy, as well as for each individual life path number. So before we get into that, I did pull an animal spirit message for this illumination, and we got seahorse energy. And so seahorse's message is all about composure and serenity. And I think this is this is very, very fitting for the energies that we may see during this illumination that may come up, which I'll talk about, of course. But one thing I just want you to keep in mind is if things become challenging with this energy, because there is a lot of transformative energy that's going to be sort of highlighted and it's sort of swirling about. If things feel a little bit challenging as you move through some of those transformations, just remember seahorse energy. If you've ever watched a seahorse, and you can sometimes see them like in aquariums and that sort of thing, they're so peaceful. They're so calm. There's just this very tranquil energy about them. And you can see all their little fins, I guess, moving, and they just seem to just be they're just floating. It's like they're floating in outer space, but there's just this tranquility to them. And it honestly just brings so much peace to, it's almost like you can feel that energy and it absorbs into your own environment, if that makes sense. So I think it's going to just be important to remember that we are not responsible for the harmony or the peace of others. We are responsible for our own harmony and peace. And so whatever we need to do to keep coming back to that center, especially if things are, if we're going through some kind of chaos or turmoil, it's up to us to find that serenity. It's up to us to find that composure. And so I think Seahorse is just reminding us that it is possible, even when you're, floating in a current, right? Or going through an uphill battle, you can find your own peace and tranquility through that experience. You'll still have to overcome whatever it is, but it will help you to move into and get into the flow. So beautiful energy there. I think it's really helpful, like I said, as we move through the energies of this illumination. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at sort of the overall numerology forecast for the collective. Okay, so the energies that I want to focus on for this illumination are that of the 8, the 13-4, the 9, and the 5. So I think this is going to be an interesting mixing pot of energy, to be honest. I get this sense of sort of like push-pull energy, but also very complementary energy. So it's an interesting sort of dichotomy and synergy happening here, that we may feel this and sort of need to figure out how to best work with these vibrations to make them work for us and the good of all. So again, we go back to seahorse spirit, right? Figuring out how to go with the flow, surrender, but then also do our part and take action where needed. It's an interesting energy. Like I said, I definitely feel like, especially collectively on sort of a bigger stage, we're going to see sort of this push-pull energy come out. I think it's already here, but I think it's going to be sort of highlighted even more with this illumination. So right out of the gate, I am drawn towards the energy of the 8. And with this, I'm seeing potential or increased power struggles, concerns of dominance or control, which seems to have, well, it seems to be a reoccurring theme for, thousands of years. but definitely in the last few years, we've seen sort of an increase with that. And we're definitely seeing that in certain places throughout the world at the moment. And so there really is sort of this need to put an effort in to find a way to balance that energy. So anything that surfaces or is initiated now will be working under the influence of the 4. So think of very slow progress, right? A lot of effort and determination and perseverance. So the 4 energy will tear down to rebuild. And also this is 13-4 energy. So this is very like Plutonian energy. This is like tower energy as well. It's going to dismantle what it needs to dismantle so that we can rebuild where we need to rebuild. But that takes time. And again, perseverance. So if a shift in power or control needs to happen, it can very well happen, but only with the sort of dismantling of the old in order to put in place something much more sustainable with much more sort of far-reaching solutions. So it can sometimes feel like the 4 is working against us, but it's only asking us to be very discerning when it comes to where we invest our time, our energy, and our resources. So both the 8 and the 4 are very, very ambitious energies. The 8 sees the vast, bigger picture, and the 4 is the master of the details. So together, these energies can accomplish great things, but they have to work together without one energy being more dominant than the other. So finances could easily come into focus now, including physical resources, land, food, money, goods. Because the 4 is just as prominent here as the 8, that tells me that there needs to be some kind of restructuring in order to build something much more sustainable that works better than the previous systems. So again, I expect we may see some reorganization, some big shifts, disruptions, and dismantling in order to build something better that works for the greater good rather than the good of just a few. And the fact that it's 13-4 energy that we're working with, again, it could sort of have this more Plutonian feel, which is sort of like, I don't want to say chaos, but it just makes me think of like Pluto or Mars energy, right? It's like, well, really Pluto energy where it's like going to get in there. It's going to, dismantle what it needs to dismantle, break down any barriers it needs to break down in order to gain a greater perspective and then build something much better. But in that process can feel very uncomfortable, can feel very disorienting. So again, we just want to think of seahorse energy and find our peace and calm through that chaos, right? Because that chaos is necessary, or again, that dismantling, right, is necessary to not only gain a greater and better, broader perspective, but to build something that's just more evolved, right? And to put in place systems that are much more evolved. So I make reference towards the good of all because we also have very prominent 9 energy with this illumination. So where the 8 and the 4 can be more like focused energy and more sort of exclusive, so to speak, the 9 is pretty much entirely inclusive. The 9 energy is going to look for solutions to benefit the greater good, the we. And so while the 4 and the 8 are building towards a greater vision, the 9 is here to make sure that the focus of that building takes into consideration what is best for all, taking all sides into account and then coming up with a solution that makes the most sense to benefit the all without suppressing or oppressing others, right? So we are also in a 6th universal year. And so again, that which is greater than just ourselves, and we're moving from sort of the heart center, that will continue to be emphasized now, especially with this 9 energy. And again, the six universal year, we have all these energies sort of swirling about, helping us to see beyond our own needs and see how we can come to some sort of compromise, come to some sort of solution to work together. We have a lot of potent energies that are really pushing us to do that. Now, of course, we have free will. We are, sovereign beings, so we can make those decisions. But if the individual does it and if enough individuals do it, eventually we see the collective doing it. And so it all starts with us ultimately, right? So the potent 5 energy reminds us that nothing truly great can happen without a tremendous amount of change and a necessary amount of chaos. That's just the way it is, right? The world is full of polarities. The universe is full of polarities. That's how things get done, whether we like it or not. The 5 brings the change and the transformation and the drive to build in a way that promotes freedom and autonomy. Anything oppressive will eventually fall apart or be broken apart under 5 energy. The 4 says it will sort of take time, right? It's not something that's going to happen quickly. But the 5 is chomping at the bit to make things happen now. It wants freedom. Anytime I think of 5 energy, I picture like this group of wild stallion galloping through an open meadow. And the 4 is the gate, right? So it's kind of like, again, push-pull energy. We know where we want to get to. We know how we want to get there, but we need to be focused and controlled in those movements getting us there, right? Like there's a planning stage to this. If we just completely broke out of the gate and ran free, we would miss some of the details. And the details are going to be important here, especially as we're building something sustainable for the long haul, right? So again, we have very ambitious, focused, controlled, and heart-centered energies being met with this explosive, expansive, freedom-seeking energy of the 5. So again, push-pull is sort of an understatement here. And so again, it's about finding the balance so that we can incorporate all these energies, work with all these energies, and make them work for us and build something really, really great here. Like there's usually, or not even usually, there's never energies present to be worked with that aren't here to help us in some way, even if it feels uncomfortable, right? So overall, I expect this illumination to bring to light areas collectively and individually where there needs to be some restructuring, some more inclusivity, transformation, and independent freedom. And again, the 4 will force us to go slowly to make sure that we get it right. And if we try to move fast, if we try to just throw something together, that 13-4 will take it all apart. It's kind of like, when you're mastering something that takes time, when you're trying to build something that's great, it takes time. It's not something you can just throw together. And so it's kind of like working with a teacher who, when you don't do it right, will correct you. And again, it's the course corrections. And so that's the 4 energy. And so it's going to make sure that we get it right. It's going to take time. And so it's got to be for the highest good of not only ourselves, but of all involved. And so it's through this process that we will feel that push-pull. And we need to decide how we can participate individually in a way that not only feels good for us, but also takes others into consideration as well. Now, remember, we're not responsible for others, what they do, how they're feeling, any of that. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is with ourselves. But we are responsible for our actions because those actions bleed out into the collective, right? So things may absolutely come to a head now, be dismantled, and after the confusion clears, then the more we can come together to rebuild in a more sustainable way, then the better, right? So again, this is going to be a slow process. I really want to drive that home because sometimes it's easy to give up on something that we're not seeing the instant gratification from, and you will not get the results that way. So if it's something that speaks to your heart, if it's something that really calls to you, the persistence, the perseverance has to be there. The patience has to be there. You have to kind of commit for the long haul until you see the results. Again, if it speaks to you. So that's kind of where we're at collectively with this energy. Let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast for each individual life path number now. Life path number 1. So for you all, you may see some transformation or change around how you show up to self and others now. So in other words, are you in situations where you need to set some healthy boundaries? Do you need to have a difficult conversation with family, friends, colleagues, your boss, whatever, anybody, where you are not being respected or your voice is not being heard, which is very important for a 1 to feel like they have, say and sort of autonomy to express themselves creatively or whatever the case may be, right? And so if there's any situation where you sort of your voice is being suppressed or you're not able to share in the way that you feel you should be able to share, right? Sometimes we need to compromise, but again, it's just this matter of you may have to have some of those more challenging conversations that aren't comfortable to have, but that can lead to transformation and sort of breaking free of a situation that's just not working for you. So healthy boundaries could come into play. Collaboration while maintaining the integrity of the project could come into play. So again, with 1 energy, you all, and again, we're talking about like sort of the transformation that could kind of come in. So I think you're going to have opportunities to see where is it that maybe you're being asked, maybe you have some kind of an idea, you share that idea and then you collaborate, but then the collaboration sort of loses the focus or the integrity of the initial vision, which sometimes that's good because sometimes, when you talk about things and brainstorm things, new ideas come up and the direction changes, and that's fine. But where that's not fine is where it's sort of like it is your vision or your idea, and you're sort of losing the integrity of that through the collaboration. You're still encouraged to collaborate and take other people's ideas into consideration and find ways to implement those ideas. But the integrity needs to stay with the initial vision, so to speak. And so there may be a situation there where you've been compromising to the point of losing the integrity of whatever this is. It can be a work project, it can be a home project, it can be anything. So there is something here about just checking in and seeing, with those collaborations, do you still feel like you have a strong voice? Do you still feel like there's integrity behind whatever it is that you're trying to do? And you're not just people pleasing and trying to fit in. Do you see what I'm saying? I think that's going to be coming up for review here under this energy. So the other thing that kind of is coming up for you all specifically is around leading alongside of others. So again, making sure that you're not just trying to do things on your own, but that again, we have all this 9 energy. And so again, that you are taking into consideration, I guess, going back to the why. Why are you doing whatever it is that you're doing? And is it only for selfish reasons? Is it only to serve you? Or is it to not only serve you, but to serve a greater purpose as well? Those are kind of the things that are going to be coming up for review along, at this time. And so just kind of keep that in mind. Because it is easy for one sometimes to kind of, again, get stuck in, I know what the vision is. I know what I need to do to get there. Yes, it would be easier for me to ask for help and have people assist, but I'm just going to do it myself to make sure it's done right. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's not always, that is working harder, not smarter. And so I do think, again, you might have some opportunities to review that and see how you can lead alongside of others while not losing the integrity of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Also, there's this energy coming up here for you all around allowing things to end or close out in order to make room for fresh new starts. So not clinging to what isn't working out of comfort or security, but really sort of taking that initiative and releasing whatever needs to be released in a big way or in a small way. Whatever it is that comes up for you that is like, okay, this is it's kind of like, I don't know why this is just kind of came to mind, but it's like that pacifier that we keep giving to the child to pacify, because it's comfortable, it's safe, we know that it gets results that way, even if it's not the best for the child necessarily long term, right? But we keep giving them the pacifier because, again, it pacifies the situation. Instead of, again, having those difficult quote unquote conversations, removing the pacifier and sort of dealing with whatever comes up, to release that, to make space for something better, right? For growth or whatever. So again, there's just something here around not clinging to what isn't working or what's trying to be released, what's trying to end, and not clinging to it so that you can open up space for something bigger and better and more aligned with the direction that you're moving. There's also energy here around just checking in with your connection, like your connection to spirituality, your connection to a higher consciousness, your higher consciousness, to your intuition, to your psychic abilities, whatever the case may be that might come in for you at this time. 9 energy is very spiritual energy, regardless of what you subscribe to, it is a very connected to the unseen energy. And so for you all, you kind of have like this undercurrent of like this double dose of 9 energy, which is why I'm spending so much time sort of on the 9 here for you all. But, and so it's very possible that, again, you'll see some you'll be feeling your intuition really strongly, or you'll have a, some kind of intuitive download or psychic download or something like that. And so instead of trying to explain it away, really kind of listen to it, explore it, see where it takes you type thing, right? But there is something here about, like, if you're feeling disconnected from your higher self, from God, from the universe, whatever you subscribe to, nature, right? Whatever. This is an opportunity to get connected to that. Again, get connected to the unseen is really what's kind of coming in, or get reconnected, right? Like open those channels again. Because again, we don't live in this like polarized state, or we're not meant to. There's a lot going on here on this journey. And so anytime that we can open up those channels, the more holistic the experience. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it's a beautiful illumination for you all. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, ones. Bye for now.